Now let's move over to a live demo of Azure Sentinel to show you what the product is about and what it's capable of. All right, so I'm going to be shifting over from multiple different demo tenants depending on the data that I have in front of me. I will also be monitoring the chat window just in case people are asking questions as well. All right, so this is the main overview dashboard of Azure Sentinel. We can mess around here with the time frame of the data that we want to look through, but for the sake of this demo, let's take a look at the last 24 hours. We have captured over 209,000 events, over 142 alerts, which generated 152 incidents in this specific product. All right, and we can see here the different data sources that we are ingesting. Office activity, for example, is anything you do within the Office 365 world. You read an email, you deleted an email, you deleted it from the second stage recycling bin, you modified some sort of attachment, so on and so forth. All those activities are documented within the tenant and are logged for us to be able to access and to view and use them. We have security events coming in from various products. We have threat intelligence platform that feeds us information about what IPs are malicious, what domains are malicious, what host names are malicious, and if any of those host names, IPs, or URLs, or whatever the case may be, pop up in our environment, let us know about it because they have been considered malicious in the past, and we want to be alerted by any time of these have been witnessed in our environment. All right, and down here, right now, there's no data in this specific map, but if I was to show you another live tenant here, it depends on the information that you're ingesting. It would populate this map to show us where people are trying to access your environment from. Let's take a look at the last 7 days here, just to get a little more on this heat map. So you can see for this specific customer, people are signing into their environment from all over the world through their VPN. And if you're ingesting your VPN data, this is one area where it would populate the map alongside with your IIS configuration, your web servers, your firewalls, and it would populate a map. The bigger the circle, the more activities happening from this specific location in the world. And that way you can figure out whether it's inbound, it's outbound, or it's both. And you can continue your investigation to figure out, hey, am I allowing people to sign in from this country over here? Or is everybody located within Canada or the United States? So that allows me to start my investigation process and hunt for these threats. All right, so moving back to this tenant. Like I stated earlier, the very first thing we have to do is identify what we want to monitor. Now, Microsoft provides us with 116 built-in connectors today that we can use. If it's not on this list, it doesn't mean that we cannot monitor it. It just means that it's not just built into the environment. We would have to custom develop the process to ingest those logs. Sometimes it's an easy process, sometimes it's a little more complex, depending on the product that we're working with. Now, if we want to take a look at Office 365 activity, for example, I want to make sure that my Office 365 connector is turned on, it's connected, and it's ingesting the information that I want it to ingest to monitor. Now, I must say that Azure Sentinel is a free product, so you don't pay to set up Azure Sentinel. The cost is based on a consumption usage. So the more logs you ingest, the more you end up paying within Sentinel. A lot of these logs are also free to ingest, while others are not free to ingest. For example, anything to do with Office 365, SharePoint logs, Exchange logs, Teams logs. SharePoint also comes with OneDrive logs. All those are free to ingest. So we can monitor your Office 365 environment practically at no additional cost. Those logs do not cost anything to ingest. If you decide to ingest, let's say, your VPN logs or your firewall logs, those do cost money, and they are billed at 3.53 Canadian dollars per gigabyte ingested. We can convert that to USD for the folks here that are in the United States. But basically, the more logs you ingest, the more you pay. And we'll go through that costing exercise once we get there. All right, so once we ingest these Office 365 logs, I want to ingest also Azure AD logs. I want to ingest my firewalls, whatever I have in the environment that I'm looking to monitor. Once I do so, we'll be able to take a look at the logs, just pure log data. All right, so let's say I want to take a look at sign-in logs. Let's just take that it only gives us 5 over the last 24 hours. And you can see here, these are just 5 raw logs of a single sign-in log. So that's 5 sign-in logs that have occurred within the last 24 hours. And we can take a look at the activity. So this is the user that signed in. Location was Canada. They previously authenticated using MFA. It was satisfied. Multi-factor authentication. They used a browser to sign in. This is the IP address they signed in from. These are the coordinates, the state or the province, the city, the location. Everything is populated within the single log. Now, we have to make sense of these logs because just pure logs sitting in our environment would not give us any value out of this. So a result type 0 means it was a successful sign-in. Here we have result type 50126. That means an invalid username or password was provided upon signing in. Now this person is a different user. This is Nori. Also location was Canada. Try to sign in using the IMAP protocol, which is a legacy protocol that we've disabled in our environment, from Georgetown, Ontario, Canada. And this is one of our users that try to sign in. Now, what if I want to find out all the users that failed to sign in because of an invalid username and password? So then we take where result type equals this number, meaning that invalid username or password. Let's try to get all the ones over the past 24 hours. And there we go. You can see here, this is all the result type that we filtered. And we can take a look at the users involved in this. So you can see there's Nori, there's Karen, there's Nori again. All our users are signing in either from Canada or the United States. This person should definitely not be signing in from Mexico, which is the reason why it failed. So you can tell that we are under attack from all over the world. It's just a matter of improving our protection to make sure that they cannot get in. Once we have this information, then we can make use of it. I can say anytime someone fails to sign in, let's say they've attempted 10 sign-ins within a 2-minute period, and all those sign-ins have been failed attempts or failed sign-ins. That's where our analytic rules come in. This is what would create an incident for us. So I would come here, create a scheduled query, populate the information that I want to populate. All right, give it a severity level. Let's just say high. Give it a tactic. Let's say this is initial access. And then I want to set my rule logic. What am I looking for? In this case, I'm looking for sign-in logs where result type equals this number, right? And I can continue throughout this process to say where the time generated was within a 10-minute window and the sign-in attempts are 10 or more within that 2-minute period. So as soon as I create that query, I can go ahead and continue the process and create it. Then anytime this event occurs, it will alert me and I can action this event. Now, some rules that we can create, for example, anytime someone gets added to an admin group, anyone that gets provided an admin role, somebody bypassed some sort of policy that you've created that you want to monitor, and then based on your use case, we can get alerted by that. Sometimes we can also get alerted if hacking tools have been witnessed in your environment. Someone is uploading, downloading, or accessing any type of hacking tool that we've included as part of this query here. And you can see anytime SQL query pops up, anytime keystrokes, key thief, all these bloodhound, all these are tools that hackers use on a regular basis, either to scan our environment, to attack our environment, or to encrypt our environment mainly. We will get alerted by it anytime these keywords are witnessed in your environment as well. So we can create as many rules as we want. We have our recommendations. We'll take use cases from our customers, and based on that, we'll create the rules in your environment so that they can alert us anytime they are populated. Now, when an alert gets triggered, it gets sent to the incidents tab here. Now, you can see that we have a whole bunch of alerts. All we have to do is, pick the one that we're going to work on and go through our investigation process. Now, let me just show you how the investigation process looks. Now here you can see this specific alert identifies when a user account successfully logs on to an Azure application from one IP, and then 10 minutes later, failed to sign on from to the same app from a different IP. So maybe this person was using a VPN, which changed their IP address, and suddenly they tried to sign into to the same application from a different IP, and we got alerted by it. So if I was to view the full details of this and start off with the investigation process, so we've collected the logs from Office 365, we've detected, which is the second phase, this alert, and now we're going to go through the investigation process. If I click investigate for this specific alert, now this might be a very small one, but it's still alert nonetheless. Now this involves this entity and this IP address, right? So if this IP address has ever been witnessed in the past through another alert, we can expand this and it'll show us all the other alerts that have originated from this IP address. Same thing with the user. If this user has other alerts tied to his account, similar to this one, I can click on this and then it's going to show us all the 7 alerts that this person had generated throughout this timeline, right? So attempt to bypass something here, unfamiliar sign-in properties, unsanctioned cloud application, connection to a cloud app. And we can see those in a timeline view to figure out what happened first, what happened second, third, fourth, and so on, which would help us through our investigation process to figure out what is the source of this alert? What is the root cause that had this user generate this incident or this alert here? Are these related? Are they not related? And then we can go through our investigation process to figure it out and to mitigate this risk. All right, we can take a look at all the entities involved. So there's just one IP and one user in this case. But if this attack happened on multiple users, multiple IP addresses, they would all populate here, which would help us with our investigation. Now, how can we populate or how can we automate our response to this? Let's go to another demo tenant that I have here. So let's take a look at the Sentinel demo user. Let's just say the Sentinel demo user generated an alert. They're doing some sort of suspicious activities. You can see their block sign-in is set to no, meaning they're allowed to sign in. And I want this user to generate an alert, and I can action that alert automatically. So let's say login from malicious IP. All right, that is the alert tied to that specific user. Now, once these entities here populate, we'll be able to see the IP address involved in this specific incident. How do I know if this IP address is a real IP address or if it's a malicious IP address? We've created the playbooks, which is the automation component to this product that allows us to automatically run a set of processes or a set of steps to tell us, what we want to do with a specific alert. Now, what I'm going to do with this IP address, I have here 2 playbooks. One would check this IP against virus total. The other one would check it against abused IPDB. These 2 tools here, they're cloud services that allow us to Check an IP address, check a file, whether it's a malicious file, check a hash, whether it's a malicious hash, so on and so forth. So if I was to show you what this playbook looks like, it's basically step-by-step instructions as what you want this specific product to do. The first step is grab the IP address, then paste it in what is this one? VirusTotal's engine, for example. Scan it, return the results, and then add the results to the comment of this incident. All this happens within seconds so that we can see exactly what happened to this specific IP. Is it malicious? Is it not? And then we can then make an educated guess or decision what we should do with this IP address. Should we block it? Should we continue using it? So on and so forth. Now, if we go back to the incident, take a look at the comments section. You see now we have 2 comments here. Let's refresh. There they are. So this is the VirusTotal one. It scanned this IP against 84 different engines, and none of them came back malicious or suspicious. They were all considered harmless. I mean, given that this is my IP, it's definitely going to be harmless in this case. And we get a little more information from abused IPDB just to see whether, this is a public IP. It is version 4. It's from Canada, based on Rogers. It was never reported. So this, to me, is a real IP. It's not malicious. So then I can continue my investigation without having to block this IP if necessary. Another thing I can do is, let's say, for this specific incident, now my entity is not an IP address. It's the user. It's the email address, Sentinel demo. Now, what if I've considered this to be 100% a compromised account? People are signing into this account from most malicious countries. What we can do in this case is, obviously you can run a playbook that would automatically reset the password, do that whole process for you, or it can have you send you an email with a decision to make in your email. So let me just pull that email up real quick. All right, so here it is. All right, so name, audit logs demo. This alert is generated when the Sentinel demo user performs changes to the environment. This is the time, severity, product that caught this alert, so on and so forth. Now, if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I've created these 4 options for us to choose from directly in our email. So without having to go through this investigation, if I'm 100% sure that Sentinel demo user was compromised, I can just click on this compromised account button. I'm just going to click approve on my end here. Perfect. So it was successfully registered as compromised. Now, if we take a look at this playbook, the last step is it's going to send me an email with this person's temporary password. So it took 1 minute to run because it was waiting for a decision from us, but I just got the second email. Here it is. User Sentinel demo at ericsugar.microsoft.com was involved as part of a security incident. As part of the remediation process, the user's sign-in sessions has been revoked, account has been blocked, and the password was reset. The user will need to re-authenticate to all applications. The temporary password is this. The user will be required to reset the password upon logging in. All right, so this is the response that we got out of that playbook. And then we can even open up this playbook to see the exact steps, how long it took on each step. And you're going to see that it waited the longest when it was waiting for me to make that decision. And everything else would be in seconds, often milliseconds, so it shows as 0 in this case. And then finally here, it took us 56 seconds to decide that this was a compromised account. And then it took 3 seconds to run this compromised account switch. Revoke access, block the user, reset their password, and send me an email. Now, if I was to take a look at this account here, block sign-in is no, but let me refresh that. There it is. Now this user is blocked. Their password has been reset. All their sessions has been revoked so that if the hacker is still signed into the account, they would have to re-authenticate using the new password and they're kicked out on the spot. So those 3 steps would mitigate against a hacker in your environment just immediately reset their password, block their account, and revoke their access. Other components to this SOAR world is you can have it block an IP in Azure AD, block an IP on your firewall, block an IP on your Exchange server, disable them on your on-prem environment, or reset their passwords on your on-prem environment. Whatever the case may be, there is one way or another for us to create a playbook that would help us respond to these threats immediately. All right, now let's move back to something called workbooks. Now, workbooks are targeted more to the C-level executives or maybe, there's directors and managers as well, obviously, but it's mainly a visual representation of what we see in the environment. So I'm sure the executives don't want to see raw logs and all that data. They would prefer to see, am I safe? Am I under attack? Where are my concerns? So on and so forth. And that's what we try to answer using these visual representations of the code. So everything here, all these graphs have been generated by the same language, which is called Kusto Query Language, KQL, that we used to take a look at those sign-in logs earlier. All right, so if I edit this workbook and I edit these charts and graphs, that's what we are going to see. Now, in this case, starting up here, I can change the time range. Let's say I want to take a look at data from the last 30 days. We've generated over 6,000 alerts over the last 30 days, 453 high, 2.1K medium, 3.42K low, and 156 informational. One of those is active, one of those is closed, but this is just a demo environment for demoing purposes, so just disregard these numbers for now. This is where we are successfully signing in from. So we've only allowed a few countries to sign into our environment unless people are traveling for work, and that's Canada, United States, Vietnam, and France. We have also people that travel to India to work from there. We have people that traveled recently to Egypt and to the Netherlands, and you can see that's why these have populated here. Otherwise, we're only going to get these 4 countries. The bigger the circle, the more sign-ins have happened in this country. Now, these are successful logins. We can also take a look at the failed login locations to see where hackers are trying to get into our environment. So over the course of the last 30 days, we've had almost 3,000 failed sign-in attempts from within Canada. That could be, a script maybe that has a hard-coded password in it that's just constantly running and failing. United States, there's 770. Brazil 310, Russia 92, Thailand 66, Colombia 62. So we definitely don't have people working out of these countries, but they are failed logins. If I did see Colombia, Thailand, Russia, Brazil on the successful sign-ins, then that's when I'm going to be worried. As long as they're blocked, they are attempting to sign in, but with our security tools, they're not allowed to sign in, or maybe because it's an incorrect password, then they're not going to be able to sign into our environment. All right, we can also take a look at the efficiency for our SOC. So how many alerts we're generating on a daily basis, how many have been assigned to a specific owner, what is the severity of these incidents. Let's just choose a smaller data set, or actually 90 days is not that bad. So all these alerts have been popping up on a daily basis. How many are closed, how many are new, how long it's taking us to triage the incident, how long it's taking us to close the incident. Again, disregard these numbers. This is just a demo environment, but high severity alerts, we want to triage them within the hour, medium within 2 hours, low between 3 or 4 hours, and then informational just 24 hours because it's just information for us to digest of what happened. And mean time to closure, how long it's taking us to close the specific incident. our SLAs are as soon as possible. As soon as we've identified the incident, we'll go through our incident response process and close out the incident as we go along. All right. We can even take a look at our incident auditing. I want to know a specific incident, what's going on with it, who's actioning it. I'll just take one as examples, 2951. Oops. All right, so unusual addition of credentials to an OAuth app. And this gives us a little information about this incident, but obviously it's still a new incident. It hasn't been actioned, so none of these digits are going to be populated at the moment. And we can also give you some billing information, so you have an understanding of how much this product is going to cost you at the end of the month based on the data that you are ingesting. Like I said, some data is free to ingest, while others, it's not free to ingest. So Sentinel can cost you nothing at the end of the month. You can see here in one of my demo environments, let's just say $4.60 in April, $14 in May, because I've ingested only 1 gig here, and here I have 4 gig. And now so far in June, it's almost 2 gig, and I'm paying $6 and change for this product, at least to ingest some log information, some security insights, and security logs from our other products. So the more logs you ingest, the more this will cost you. Obviously, if I was to select this customer that has hundreds of firewalls that they're ingesting, hundreds of servers, it can cost you around $2,000 per month. But this customer is one of our largest customers, which makes sense. They're ingesting close to 600 gigs of data per month, and that is the cost that Sentinel would be for all that data. All right.
Hi,
So now,
George.
hi.
Can
Yeah,
I just quickly mention here, sorry to interrupt,
sure.
just for our audience, we are headquartered in Canada and we're using Canadian Data Center as an example, but we do serve the US market and everything here applies to US market as well.
Of course. Thank you for that, Betty. All right. Another feature that we have here is threat intelligence. This is the information that we've signed up for, and we provide our own threat intelligence based on our previous customers, based on previous attacks. What IP addresses have we witnessed that have been malicious? What host names, what domain names, what URL that have been malicious in the past? Anytime we see these properties or these values in an email, in a service, someone clicked on it, someone downloaded it, someone accessed it, someone signed in, whatever the case may be. As long as we see this information somewhere in our logs, we are going to be alerted by it, right? So these URLs have been used in the past. For example, this one, paypal-ticketid39.com. Someone created this domain and tried to fish for maybe PayPal credentials or PayPal access to steal money. But if this specific URL is ever evident in any of our customers' environments, we will be alerted by it so that we can action it and follow the proper process. All right, so we have signed up for a lot of these services. So far, we have around 223,000 indicators ranging between IP addresses, host names, URLs, domains, and anytime they pop up, we get alerted by it as well. All right, I just want to touch on one final thing here before we move over to questions. This touches base on something called Logs Analytics Workspace. So this is the workspace that has to be created in order for Sentinel to ingest all those logs in. All right, so again, I can come up with the with the US number, but as a Canadian currency so far, it's $3.53 per gigabyte to ingest logs into Log Analytics Workspace. And if you want to retain that data beyond 90 days, then you pay 15 cents per gigabyte retained. So you get 3 months worth of free logs to retain in your environment. Let's say you ever want to go back 3 months and take a look at what someone did, that information will be available for you. If you need, 4 months worth of logs, you're going to get the first 3 for free, And then the fourth month, you will have to pay 15 cents Canadian per gigabyte stored in this log analytics workspace. Now, what if you have a budget that you want to meet? You can't surpass that budget no matter what. Then we can set a daily cap and say, I only want to spend $3.53 Canadian per gigabyte per day, and that's it. Now, if I choose this option, obviously once the gigabyte per day, or once that 1 gig reaches 1 gig, all the other security data is going to be eliminated from being ingested. So we could be losing some valuable data there. Maybe there's a security incident that would pop up, but this would meet your budget requirements in setting a daily cap of how much data you want to ingest. All right. Also, we can set data retention for up to 2 years if we need to. You get the first 90 days for free. If you have some sort of legal requirement or compliance requirement, whatever the case may be, we can set this to up to 2 years. If you need this more than 2 years, then there are 2 or 3 other ways that we can export this data into a different log storage for you to retain either indefinitely or maybe 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, depending on the rules and regulations that you have to abide by.